Jezebel.
If you tuned in for last week's farm update, you would have seen that we discovered Jezebel's third litter of stillborn kits. Figuring that she may have lost her mothering instinct, and with a desire to use the rabbit enclosure as a dog enclosure for our wedding in a few weeks' time, we decided to process our remaining 3 rabbits so that we could start again with fresh breeding stock in the autumn. This week, I'll take you through how we preserved and cooked our 3 rabbits, making the most of all the animal using basic French country cooking techniques. We had 2 adult rabbits and 1 smaller adolescent. They were Flemish giant crosses, and we were really astonished by how much meat was on them once skinned and gutted. Even the younger bunny that we are processing now was a similar size to what you would find in a wild rabbit.
So you've got the rest of this body.
Now, someone says that there's like a loin, but if there isn't much of a loin there,
Well,
we can make stock.
You've got a pretty
backstrap.
you've got a pretty wild backstrap going through there.
Yeah, that's the loin. Because we'll be able to make a separate, so we'll confit the legs, we'll keep the loin, and then the bones I'm going to make into broth tomorrow. We put the rabbit loins or back straps into vacuum sealed bags and place them into the freezer for future use, as, like this, they take up very little space, are a convenient cut of meat for a quick meal, and can be used as a substitute for chicken breast. I'd heard rabbit confit was a perfect way to cook the tougher leg and shoulder meat, and also a way to preserve our rabbits in the fridge for a month or so, as our freezer was already completely full from harvesting our pigs at the start of winter. For the confit, I am liberally salting the leg joints and shoulder pieces, then placing them in my enamel pot to cure overnight in the fridge. Salting will draw out the excess moisture in the rabbit and will season the meat ready for the confit process the following day. Cooking using the confit method is essentially slow cooking the joints in fat at very low temperatures until the meat is tender. The meat is then stored in the fat it was cooked in and can keep for at least a year in the fridge or a very cold cellar. It is a traditional technique commonly used in southern France for duck legs, preserving the meat for future use, and can transform an ordinarily tough cut of meat into a tender, succulent meal. The fat that I'm using to cook my rabbit pieces in is the last of our leaf lard from last year's pig harvest. I had to keep the leftover jars of lard in the freezer over the summer so that the fat did not go rancid, removing them at the start of winter once we needed the freezer space again. Lard is a great vehicle for confit if you don't have access to duck or goose fat, as it has a neutral flavour, allowing the flavour of the rabbit and aromatics to shine. As opposed to tallow or suet, it is also soft at room temperature, which makes it easy to remove pieces of the confit rabbit for future meals from their jars in the fridge. Here I am removing the lard from each of the jars and heating it up in a saucepan to pouring consistency. I removed my rabbit pieces from the fridge, poured out the liquid that had drawn out of them overnight, and rinsed them with cold rainwater under the tap. I then dried each piece with paper towel and placed them back in the enamel pot, ready for cooking. To the prepared meat, I added fresh aromatics of peeled shallots, garlic, thyme, bay leaf, and rosemary. For the spices, I used cloves and peppercorns. I then poured the hot lard over the contents of the pot until everything was fully submerged and placed in a low heat oven, roughly 130 degrees centigrade, for a couple of hours. After a couple of hours, I pulled out the tender, smaller shoulder and leg pieces from my younger rabbit, but the larger pieces required further cooking. So this is the tiny rabbit. The legs and the shoulder are already on it.
Yep.
But not the bigger rabbits.
It looks juicy.
I just tried some, it's delicious.
Is that off the shoulder?
That's off the shoulder.
Oh my god.
It's beautiful, hey?
That's miraculous. That's not dry at all. That's super juicy. Oh, you're a master.
After another couple of hours in a low oven, the larger pieces were done and I pulled them out ready to be placed into jars and covered with the fat. So I've put 5 of our confit rabbit legs into these jars, and I'm going to ladle on the hot oil over the top, and these will keep for probably a year in the fridge like this, maybe longer. I don't think they'll last that long, but we can put them in the fridge covered in that oil fat, or we can put them in the freezer covered in that fat, and they will last for a year. And when we need them, we'll just pull them out of that fat and fry them up, or pull off the meat and use it like that in dishes. So I will be frying this one whole to show you how it is, and it just keeps like that, and you just pull it out and fry it up when you want it. With these the front bits of the rabbit meat, I'm going to be pulling the meat off these bones and making rillette with them, and I will be using some of the cooking fat, and also there's some delicious gelatinous juices at the bottom of this oil. So what I'm going to do is ladle in the hot oil from here over a sieve so it's nice and clear, just to the top, to preserve these in the fridge, and then I'm going to put that fat in a jar, and we'll be able to separate it to make the rillette a bit later today, probably tonight before I go to bed. And you saw earlier that the fat I used for these was leaf lard from last year's pork. This is a really great way. Leaf lard's a really neutral flavoured fat, so it was a good substitute for ordinarily you'd use duck or goose fat, but we don't have that on the homestead, so I used leaf lard instead. I also scooped out the confit garlic cloves and shallots and put them into a separate jar. These are really delicious added to stews, sauces and dips, and I covered them with fat to preserve them in the fridge until I needed them. Rillettes are a potted meat spread, much like pâté. They are made by mixing shredded meat with fat and seasonings of the cook's choice. For my rillette, I am picking and shredding the meat off the bone from the confit rabbit shoulders, using the already infused confit fat and confit jelly for seasoning. With the rillettes getting prepared and only a small amount of bread, I thought I'd better whip up some spelt crackers to go with it for tasting. Let's put a bit more jelly on, and we'll see how this tastes, okay? You might like it. Once the rillettes are mixed to a spreadable consistency and seasoned to your liking, it's time to pot them up. You gonna try some of this? Is this good baby food? Do you like rabbit rillette? There it is. Let's pot it up. I press as much of the meat into the jar as I can, leaving enough room for a few millimetres of fat to be poured over the top to cover and preserve them. Jarred like this, they can keep for at least a month in the refrigerator. To cook our confit rabbit leg for Troy's dinner, I fried it in some of the confit fat for a few minutes on each side to crisp up and warm through. I then added a couple of pieces of sourdough to mop up the oil for some crispy toasts. I served the confit rabbit leg with last year's bread and butter pickles and the crispy toasts.
How'd you cook the toaster? In
The toast is in the confit fat.
It smells great.
Want a knife?
Yeah, I better. Instead of being a complete barbarian.
Thank you.
It's fancy rabbit.
We would sit down to eat it, but there's just no light in our main living area, so you have to try it on camera here. And this is some of our hard goat cheese that we made earlier in the year.
I'm not going to have cheese with that right now.
No.
Maybe after.
After. Needs to be eaten. Save some bread. Yeah, so what do you think of the confit rabbit? Is it juicy or is it a bit dry? Honestly, oh, it looks quite juicy. It's pretty juicy.
It's juicy for rabbit.
Yeah, and it is like confit as well.
So it's a little bit. I would say it's halfway between breast meat and leg meat on chicken.
Yum. Really nice.
It is good. You don't need to wrap it in bacon or anything like that. Would you agree? It's like.
Yeah. It's
like,
not as dry as breast meat.
No.
Yum.
But
It's got more flavour than breast meat too.
The foreshoulder that I ate before was a little bit moister than that.
Yeah.
Is that because it was cooked for less, or just you think?
I think it's just the nature of it.
I like that more than chicken though.
Beautiful. Let me have a little bit more.
Rodent. Who knew?
I'm not trying rat.
Why not? Guinea pig?
Maybe.
I don't know if you'd get these delicious legs though.
Good dinner.
Is this now our dinner?
It's your dinner.
Alright.
Oh, yum.
It's good. It's like a massive crouton. Oh, I get it back.
See ya. We've got a lot to do today, but I wanted to cook up what's left of our rabbits. It's been 5 days since we processed them, and haven't done anything with the beautiful liver, heart and kidneys. Apparently rabbit offal is just delicious, so I need to cook this up. And then I picked off a whole lot of meat off the bones. We made a big batch, a few big jars of rabbit broth, which are here in the fridge. So I'll probably use this today as well. So I'm just going to cook up for lunch a really nice sauce with this rabbit broth, some guanciale, pre-chopped guanciale here, which is cured pork cheek, and a bit of cream. And I've also chopped up some leeks and some celery. So we'll make a creamy sauce, and then we'll add the offal and the pre-cooked meat. Now I'm just going to make sure that this offal tastes okay, so I'm just going to like brown it in the pan first, and then we'll add it right at the end. So I'm just going to prep this up, fry it in the pan in some butter, and see how it tastes. Try a bit of each to make sure it tastes alright. Didn't smell bad, it's not amazing. Okay, this rabbit offal, it tastes absolutely like exquisite. I have not had offal that tastes this good from any other animal. Really amazing. I've mentioned it earlier that a woman who I follow on Substack, Tara Couture, she raves about rabbit offal and says it's the best, and I would have to agree. It's delicious. So I really hope we can have better luck next year raising some rabbits in autumn. Yeah, I hope that we can make it work because it's such a delicious meat. I'm so impressed. Definitely preferring it to chicken right now. And I really hope we can make it work. But this is a kidney. And normally kidneys are, I don't know, they have quite a strong flavour. But this rabbit kidney, I haven't even seasoned this with salt. I've just fried it in butter. It's got like a mushroomy flavour. It tastes like I'm eating mushrooms, but with a bit more of a meaty texture. It's really incredible. The liver tastes like you're eating liver, but it's so mild. The mildest of flavours, so yummy. Really, really nice. And the heart is just really delicious. Like dark meat from a chicken. Really, really nice. So I'm glad that this is all fine and it didn't go to waste and it didn't go bad in the fridge. So it did actually sit in the fridge for 5 days and it's totally fine. So that's another great thing too. I don't have to cook it straight away. With other animals, I found that if you leave the liver or the kidneys for more than a couple of days in the fridge, they start to take on even more flavour, and it's not a good flavour either. So The guanciale and the fat that was around these organs has rendered out in my big pan. So I'm going to be making our sauce now, and then I'm going to be putting this offal and this meat into the sauce, and we'll be enjoying that for an early lunch this morning. So I haven't added any fat to this, but you can see that all of the fat has come out of the offal, and the guanciale has gone from opaque to translucent to back to opaque again, and it's nice little crispy bits. So we're ready to add our vegetables into this oil, this fat. We're just going to cook it at low heat. I'm going to do some down celery and leek. After adding my rabbit stock, I added a heaped tablespoon of Dijon mustard and a good few splashes of cream, reducing the liquid down by half before adding what was left of our offal and the boiled rabbit meat. So I'm just serving this up with some peel couscous. It's still a little starchy, which is probably okay because the sauce has kind of been sucked up by the rabbit meat. Mother can have a little bit. Troy loves these peel couscous. I think reheated rabbit, it's a bit like chicken. It has a bit of a flavour. It's still delicious, but I think it's better when you first cook it. Reheating it, it's not as good. And so I've got a little bit left over, and we might just have it cold, like mixed with mayonnaise or something like that later today or tomorrow. Even baby's gonna have some. Baby's having bunny in a bunnykins bowl. So what did you think of the rabbit meat?
Oh, I love the rabbit meat.
Yeah?
It's better than chicken.
I think it's better than chicken.
They also have the benefit of, with the processing, it's a lot quicker. You don't need to scald them or anything like that.
Right.
But the actual meat was delicious. Those rabbits were really great.
Mm-hmm. And also the skins that came off them, is that a potential? We're looking to tanning them in the future, maybe.
You would have to look at how many you had, and you would want to have a use already in mind for the rabbit skins for the trouble. Yep. Unless I just salt them and give them to you.
Baby rug, I was thinking.
Well,
be pretty lush.
If people have a trouble-free tanning method, that's probably something that you could either put in the comments, or if you know of a YouTube link, you can direct us that way.
Or a good book will be really appreciated. So there hasn't really been, I don't think it's been super clear in the previous videos just exactly what happened to the rabbits. We sort of cycled through 2 different males. We lost one of our breeding females. We lost the babies. How did it all play out? How did it all happen?
So we were given the first lot of rabbits. So we were given a male and 2 females. We took them to get vaccinated for the calicivirus, which is imported into Australia to try and get rid of the imported rabbits. It's a very virulent disease.
The feral rabbits.
Yeah.
It was brought in the late 90s, and it's a European disease that they brought in to wipe out this European pest problem.
Yeah, so that's sort of an uphill battle any Australian rabbitries. If it's legal in a state, you have to sort of deal with that virus that was introduced for its effectiveness in destroying rabbits. You don't have that elsewhere in the world. Some people can have mounds that they just fence in, and they can just keep their rabbits outside. They just have to worry about hawks and things. We have to worry about things much smaller, so viruses. So I took our rabbits, we got them inoculated, and immediately I brought them back. The male rabbit got through a door that I hadn't secured properly, and the dog grabbed it. So like immediately after a $100 vaccination. Then later on, the 2 females already had kits, little baby rabbits. They already had those.
Once they'd had their shots, yeah.
Yeah, so all of those little kits, we never got those vaccinated. We didn't know it was going to be that expensive either. And I think that the vaccination actually led to them contracting that virus, and they all died. Small rabbits are fairly immune to the virus, so they don't die, they don't show symptoms. And within like 17 days, which is sort of like what they say the immunity, immediately they died. we've never seen any sign of it after that. So it was just those drinking the milk from the vaccinated mums. So I'm just going to put it down to that. You can argue that it might not have been, but it's the most parsimonious explanation I can give. Later on, I found again one of our females. Like we got some other litters after that, but I think I found one of the other breeding females dead, and I think that might have been aggression from Jezebel, the dominant female. And then she just stopped effectively nest building. I gave her nesting materials, and she had a good box and everything like that. But she would split her litters between two shelters. She didn't build very good nests. Like she started late. She started after they were born, and so we found a couple of litters dead, and she just wasn't doing right. Now, when we had her confined in a cage just with a box, she did a lot better. When we made that open plan rabbitat, which we thought would be a more natural thing and a bit more successful, her nesting instincts didn't work. So she was actually a successful mother in cage culture.
Yes, but she also did have a successful litter. We think she had a successful litter the first time she had babies down in the rabbitat, because she had one of her surviving babies, which was that small baby in the video at the beginning. So she had a litter, but only one survived, and we found a couple dead, didn't we?
Yeah, found a couple dead scattered around the place.
And then we suspect that maybe the cat got in and ate some more, because it's very unusual for them to only have 2 or 3 in a litter.
Yeah, so maybe the cat did that. But those ones that I found, they had no sign of being molested by the cat. Like a cat leaves, because there's no fur on them, they're just skin.
Right.
And so I didn't find claw marks, I didn't find any puncture wounds on them.
Okay, so she just didn't look after them.
I don't know.
We just don't know. We just don't know.
So it's been a little bit hard. In these 2 years, we've just tried, there goes our cow, we've tried a bunch of different things just so we could fail fast, I guess is the way people say it, and we can see what works and what doesn't, what we like and things like that. And we did a bit of our failure video, but we don't look at it too much as a failure in that we're learning what we can do. But with the rabbits, it sort of hurt a little bit, just because I did have to go and find those dead litters. And we'd had them for like almost a year now. We've been feeding them for a year, and we hadn't really gotten any return yet. So right. And the other thing is with our wedding coming up, I just need an enclosure so the dogs can be contained in between babysitter visits that we can arrange. We can't just let them roam around. So I was always building that enclosure with the view that it could be used for other things like raising orphan lambs, and also containing our dogs if need be. So the rabbitat was really great. I think the rabbits, they interacted, they looked happy.
They looked happy.
But something about that changed, maybe because she'd always grown up in a cage.
And had litters in a cage, yeah.
So I think what we need to do is have another go at it. But in our neck of the world, we do need to enclose whatever rabbitry we have in fly screen. So the virus is transmitted to each rabbit by droplets, body fluids. So that's either wild rabbits touching them, or it can also be flies getting in the eyes or whatever of another rabbit, and then contacting your rabbit, and then you're done. It sweeps through. So it's a bit of trouble, and it's gonna require a bit of thought. I had thought about a polytunnel with insect screening. That would enable us to hold quite a few rabbits. The rabbitat worked very well with the sawdust floor, in that it soaked up rabbit urine. It was quite hygienic. It was very easy to clean out. I was able to quite easily sieve the sawdust and take the droppings and throw them in the compost or the garden. And just sawdust is readily available here. If you had rabbits in a polytunnel, I don't know, I'd like a movable cage. That would be really great, but I'm going to have to think about it. All of the easy ways of raising rabbits, where you just have to worry about foxes and things like that, which can just be handled with steel mesh. We need to do that too, but we have to keep insects out of it. I'll see how busy I am next year. I would like it though. That rabbit was delicious.
So nice. So nice. So yeah, we're really motivated to give it another go.
The easiest way for us would be cage culture, and there's probably people throwing up their hands like, of course it's why the commercial growers do it, because we could just easily make a fly screen enclosure,
Yeah.
and then just have them in there. Our rabbits seemed happy in a cage as well, but I don't know. I do like.
It's not very nice.
I do like the. Yeah, I don't know if the rabbits cared.
I don't
So,
know.
we could always have. Yeah, I don't know. It's at the I don't know stage at the moment. So
But you definitely have a good idea, yeah.
I'm not going to call it a failure. I'm going to call this one a setback,
Yeah.
because it just takes a bit of imagination.
Yeah.
So it's funny when we were sailing around, if you've been with us for a while, like everything was fairly easy, and the reason being is I'd been at sea for 20 years, so I'd already gone through the what doesn't work stage, and I'd seen new sailors, and they were confident and they were okay, but they would often try things that I knew that just wouldn't work through experience. And now, like, because we're 2 years in, I think it feels like we're still at that stage. We're still fumbling around, and people that have been on the land for a long time would look at it and just go, well, that's plainly not going to work, but we're finding that out
Yeah.
as we go. So
Yeah. So thanks for your patience as we play around and joining us each week as we discover new things.
well, at the moment we are feeding ourselves pretty well.
We are.
We're still thrashing out good cow management. It's getting easier now that spring is here. The cow is much more settled. What we have discovered, sorry about hijacking your rabbit thread, but what we have found out with the cow is that on our block we do still have some weeds that affect the flavour of the milk. So that's something that we're going to have to learn to overcome. But otherwise, most other things that we've settled on are working fine. I'm looking forward to getting our garden back into good shape too.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh well.
Is that a
We'll
wrap?
end it on that. Thanks everyone for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to hit the like button. And thanks always to all our wonderful patrons and people that support us on PayPal, and super thanks.
Yeah, and all the people that have just found us, welcome, and spread the word. Tell some people if you like it. Just pass on a link or whatever you like, because we are welcoming quite a few new people, so that's really great.